Welcome to X Confessions Unlocked, where lies, betrayal, and truth collide. Kindly subscribe so you don't miss any of this. We share new stories daily. Stick around and unlock the drama. Now, let's get into today's story. She thought she was texting her friends to debate whether I was worth keeping around, but I was in the group chat. You ever get hit so hard with the truth, it makes you laugh before it makes you cry? That was me, sitting at my kitchen counter, phone in hand, coffee going cold, rereading a group text I was never supposed to see, but had been added to like some kind of morbid VIP guest. I'm Marcus. I'm 34. Work in IT for a small logistics firm in Philly. Pretty average guy by most standards. Quiet, responsible, always pays his bills early, and for a long time, tragically bad at picking romantic partners. And I mean tragic in the Shakespearean sense. I met Jenna at a friend's rooftop birthday party a year and a half ago. She was 28, worked freelance in interior design, all angles and Instagram poses, wearing a dress that screamed, "I'm spontaneous and mysterious," and shoes that suggested she wouldn't survive walking more than half a block. She had this loud laugh, like she owned the space. And for some reason, maybe I was bored, maybe I was lonely, I thought that was a good sign. We hit off, or at least I thought we did. She said she liked that I listened, that I didn't talk over her. I thought she was refreshing and ambitious. She had this long story about wanting to start her own firm, needing time to build her portfolio while taking on clients on the side. She said she was looking for someone stable, someone she could build a future with. I took that to mean me. By month 4, she'd basically moved in. Not officially, of course. She still had her apartment, which, as I later found out, was just a rented room in a house she hadn't paid rent on in 2 months. But all her stuff was at my place. She called it our place, even though my name was the only one on the lease. I was stupid, yeah, but I wasn't blind. Not at first. Things started small. She forgot to pay me back for groceries. Then she had an unexpected vet bill for a dog she never mentioned until the bill showed up. Then her car, suddenly, needed repairs she couldn't afford. You see the pattern. She always said she'd pay me back. She never did, but I was in it. I had convinced myself she was just going through a rough patch, trying to make something of herself. I kept telling myself that real relationships are about supporting each other, that the money wasn't a big deal, but it added up. Rent, her car payments, which I covered more than once just until her client paid her, utilities, groceries, and of course the little things, her brunches, her mani pitas, the designer candles she just had to have for her mental clarity. Fast forward to about 3 weeks ago. Things have been off for a while. She'd been distant, on her phone a lot more, laughing at messages and then turning the screen away. But when I asked her if anything was going on, she said I was being insecure. Said I was projecting because I didn't have friends who made me laugh like that. Okay. Fine. Gaslight level 7. Nothing new there. Then it happened. The group text. It was a Tuesday. Just your average, dragging myself through coffee and email morning. I picked up my phone, and there it was, a group chat notification. One I'd never seen before. It said, "Should I keep him around? He's boring, but my rent's been paid for 1 year, and my car loan will be done by next week. LOL. My name wasn't tagged, but I was in the group. I stared at it for a second. You know that weird, hollow silence that happens right before your brain catches up with what your eyes are seeing? That's where I was. Then another message popped up. Oops, but seriously, should I? I swear, I could hear the sound of my own sanity snapping. There were like 5 other girls in the group. I recognized 2 of them from brunches I'd been forced to attend. Both of them overly fake nice, always complimenting my quiet energy. One replied with a laughing emoji. Another said, "Girl, you're wild, but I get it." I didn't say anything for about 30 seconds. Then I just replied, "Decision made for you." Left the group. Then I got up, walked into the living room, and just sat there. Not even angry. Just stunned. I felt like I had been dating a character. Like the whole thing had been some elaborate performance, and I was the idiot audience member clapping from the front row. My phone started blowing up immediately. At first, it was just her. "Wait, Marcus, it was a joke. Come on, don't be so sensitive. You know I didn't mean it like that." Then, when I didn't respond, it shifted tone. "Can we talk? Don't make a scene. I was just venting. Everyone does it." Then, finally, "You're seriously going to ruin our relationship over this?" No acknowledgement of what she said. No apology. Just blame shifting and half-assed explanations. I turned my phone off. That night, I changed the locks. Texted her to let her know her stuff would be boxed and ready for pickup the next day. She replied with, "You're overreacting. We need to talk in person." I didn't respond. When she came by the next day, she was all wide-eyed and innocent, like she hadn't just publicly humiliated me in a chat with her hyena pack. She tried to hug me at the door. I stepped back. Your boxes are in the hallway, I said. You're really doing this? She asked. I'm not doing anything, I replied. You already did. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she thought I'd always be the quiet, reliable guy who picked up the check and stayed silent when disrespected. I guess that's who I was. Not anymore. She picked up the boxes, mumbling about how petty I was being. Said her new place wouldn't even have room for all of it. Asked if she could keep the air fryer until she settled in. I didn't even answer. Just closed the door behind her. And then it got weirder. 2 days later, she texts me. Hey, can we maybe talk again? Just realized rent's due, and I might have miscalculated some stuff. Maybe we can find a middle ground. A middle ground? You mean the same middle ground where I fund your lifestyle while you roast me to your friends? Nah, not this time. I didn't respond. Instead, I poured myself a drink, sat back down at my kitchen counter, the same one where I'd read her betrayal in real time, and took a deep breath. Then I texted one of her friends from the group chat, the only one who didn't respond, with a laughing emoji. She'd sent a single message right after mine that said, Wait, is Marcus in here? I messaged her. Hey, just letting you know, she left her makeup bag behind. Want to let her know? She replied, Oh wow, I'm so sorry you had to see that. That was messed up. For what it's worth, I always thought you were too good for her. I didn't reply, but yeah, she was right. I think I always knew. It's funny how people who stomp all over your boundaries suddenly remember the word respect the second you enforce one. Jenna went quiet for about 3 days after I ignored her rent text. I thought that might be the end of it. Nope. Day 4, I get a Venmo request from her for $110. No description, no context, just a notification and the most passive-aggressive dollar amount I've ever seen. Now I'm sitting there thinking, what exactly am I being billed for? Emotional damages? Back pay for all the time she said, thank you, with a kiss on the cheek, and then I'll get the next one? For fun, I responded to the request with a single comment. What's this for? The privilege of being insulted in a group chat. She unmatched me on Venmo. So I guess that conversation's over. The real plot twist came a couple days later when my friend Nick, same guy whose birthday party I met Jenna at, called me and said, Dude, have you seen Jenna's story? Now, I'm not a big social media guy. My Instagram's mostly just hiking photos, blurry concert videos, and the occasional sunset. I hadn't checked it in weeks. But of course, curiosity got the better of me. I open it up, and there she is, full face of makeup, sad music playing, staring wistfully out the window like someone just told her she couldn't keep her puppy. Caption said, Sometimes people can't handle the real you. Just know your worth, even when others don't. The next slide was a black screen with the words, Rent due. Life it's hard. Lesson learned. And I actually laughed. Out loud. In my car. In a Trader Joe's parking lot. She turned getting caught scheming into a moody TED talk about knowing your worth. The girl's audacity had its own gravitational pull. Nick sent me a screenshot of one of the comments. Someone had replied, Wait, didn't you literally clown your boyfriend in a group chat? She deleted that one, obviously. But apparently, she didn't just delete it. She started spinning it. Word got around. I guess people talk, especially when a messy group chat ends up as free drama for anyone bored enough to scroll. One of Jenna's acquaintances, this girl Crystal I'd met once at a friend's barbecue, messaged me saying, Hey, just so you know, Jenna's telling people you were emotionally distant, and that's why she said what she said. That was just a bad joke taken out of context. Oh, so now I'm the cold, unfeeling villain in the indie movie of her life. Got it. I didn't respond to Crystal directly, but the next time someone tried to spin it that way to me, I gave them the facts. She lived at my place rent-free for a year. I covered her car payments multiple times. I bought her groceries, paid for her dog's meds, gave her money to invest in her interior design business, which, as far as I can tell, was just a Canva account and a Pinterest board. And her thank you? A group text where she said I was boring and wondered if she should keep me around. You want to call that a joke? Fine, but don't call it love. The thing is, once I stepped back, once I let the dust settle, I realized how many little things I'd been overlooking. Like how she always used my Amazon Prime, but never once offered to pay half. How she'd roll her eyes if I suggested a cheaper restaurant, because we never do anything nice. How every conversation about the future involved my income, my stability, my plan. Never ours. Never we. Just a long, slow extraction process. And I was the ATM she kept sweet-talking into overdrafting. The moment I got out of it, it was like I could breathe again. No more walking on eggshells. No more pretending I wasn't being used. No more defending her to my friends who definitely saw it before I did. A week later, I got a knock on the door. It was Jenna, hair in a messy bun, hoodie on, holding her phone like it might explode if she squeezed it too hard. She looked smaller. Not physically, just like someone who wasn't used to being without a backup plan. "I just want to talk," she said. I stood in the doorway. Didn't invite her in. "You had a lot of chances to talk," I said. "You chose a group text instead." She sighed like I was being unreasonable. "I messed up." "Okay. It was a stupid joke. I was venting. I didn't mean it like that." "You said you were deciding whether to keep me around," I said. "That's not venting. That's strategy." She didn't deny it. Just kind of looked past me into the apartment like she missed the furniture more than the person. "Do you ever make mistakes, Marcus?" she asked. I laughed. "Dry. Quick. All the time," I said. "But I don't usually send out press releases about them to a focus group." She blinked, like she wasn't sure if that was an insult or a compliment. "Can I come in?" she asked finally. "No," I said, "but I'll walk you back to your car." She hesitated, looked like she might argue, then turned and walked off. I followed, made sure she got in, gave her a polite little wave goodbye. She drove off. I haven't seen her since. She tried reaching out a few times after that. A couple texts. A long, heartfelt email about how she was working on herself. Another Venmo request, this time for $3.14, caption "pie for your thoughts." I ignored them all. I wasn't angry anymore. Not even bitter. Just done. It's like when you finally remove a splinter you didn't realize was stuck deep in your skin. Yeah, it hurts a little pulling it out, but then it's gone, and suddenly you're not walking with a limp anymore. The weirdest part? I've had more energy since she left. I started going back to the gym, picked up a weekend hike with Nick and a few buddies. Finally booked that trip to Seattle I kept postponing. Even cooked a real meal for myself, like not frozen, not DoorDash, just me, a skillet, and a recipe I didn't mess up. It's wild what you can do when no one's draining your bank account and your emotional bandwidth at the same time. I don't know what she's up to now. Last I heard through the grapevine, she moved in with one of the girls from that same group chat. Her car got repossessed because apparently the car loan will be done by next week. It was as real as her career goals. Some people might say I got played, that I should be embarrassed. But honestly, I'm proud of how I handled it. I didn't scream. I didn't post some long rant. I didn't do petty revenge or light her stuff on fire, though I did keep the air fryer and I use it guilt-free. All I did was stand up, say enough, and leave the damn group chat. And sometimes, that's all it takes. A couple of months went by. Life got a lot quieter, which, honestly, was a blessing. You don't realize how much static someone's adding to your life until they're gone. It's like background noise you've gotten used to, and then suddenly, click, silence. Peace. I didn't expect a redemption arc. Not from her. Not from anyone in her circle. I figured she'd move on, maybe rope someone else into her manifesting abundance hustle, and I'd fade out of the narrative like a boring ex-boyfriend character in the pilot episode. But then I started getting tagged. At first, it was just a random comment under an old photo of us on Jenna's page. I hadn't even known it was still up. She'd unfollowed me, blocked me, untagged herself from everything post-breakup like I'd been a digital disease she had to scrub. The comment just said, "Wait, is this the guy she was talking about on her story?" I clicked. I shouldn't have. Apparently, Jenna had started a TikTok account. A relationship advice TikTok account. Yep, you read that correctly. Jenna, the woman who group polled her friends about whether she should keep me around because I was financially useful, was now out here dropping hot takes about knowing your value and never settling. I watched one video. Just one. She looked straight at the camera and said, "Ladies, if he doesn't pour into you emotionally and spiritually, but still expects you to be loyal, that's not a relationship. It's a job. Don't be someone's emotional secretary." And I damn near spit out my coffee. Because I was the one doing the pouring. I was practically drowning in generosity while she skimmed off the top like it was a business transaction. And now she was branding herself as a relationship guru. I almost commented. I almost typed out the whole story in all its juicy glory, group chat screenshot included. But then I remembered something a friend told me back when everything first blew up. You don't have to chase justice when you have the receipts. Just keep living. People will do the math. So I closed the app and left it alone. But I will admit, it was hard seeing her twist the narrative. She never used my name, but everything she posted was just vague enough to sound like she was the wounded one. Like she was the misunderstood, undervalued queen who'd finally broken free of her toxic, joyless ex. And the comments? Oh, they ate it up. "You're so strong. Thank you for this truth. I needed to hear it. He doesn't deserve your light sparkles." Meanwhile, I'm in my apartment reheating leftover stir-fry and wondering if I was the villain in someone else's badly written Wattpad fanfic. The turning point came about a week after the TikTok nonsense started. I got a message from one of Jenna's old friends, Sabrina. I barely remembered her, but she'd been around a few times, usually drinking wine in Jenna's kitchen and whispering drama like it was currency. Sabrina didn't bother with small talk. She sent one sentence. "You should see what she's trying to pull now. Check your email." I did, and my jaw tightened so fast it gave me a headache. Jenna had applied for a spot on a podcast. A decently big one, too, the type of thing where they interview survivors of modern relationship trauma. And in her submission, which Sabrina had somehow gotten her hands on and forwarded to me, Jenna had written a full-on story about how she'd been financially manipulated and emotionally neglected by a long-term partner who used money to control her. She didn't name me, but all the details matched. Timeline, age, situation, everything. That's when I got angry. Not explosive angry. Not throwing dishes and texting in all caps angry. No, the quiet kind. The kind of angry that makes you suddenly and sharply aware of your self-respect. So I reached out to the podcast team myself. I wasn't dramatic about it. I sent a short, clean email. "Hi, I understand someone named Jenna, last name, has applied to appear in your podcast. I am the former partner she appears to be referencing in her submission. Attached are screenshots of a group chat message in which she discusses using me financially and refers to me as boring but convenient. I'm sharing this not to seek publicity, but to prevent the spread of a dangerously false narrative that could hurt real survivors. Please feel free to contact me for further context." 2 days later, I got a polite reply thanking me for my honesty and confirming that Jenna's interview had been passed on. She never got the episode. What she did get was another story to post. This time, a teary video about opportunities falling through because of haters and people who can't stand to see a woman thrive. I didn't care anymore. Let her cry to her followers. Let her sell empowerment mugs and do breathy voiceovers over lo-fi beats. I was done being her storyline. But karma's a funny thing. It's slow, but it shows up. One morning I got another message, this time from a guy named Liam. He said, "Hey, weird question. Were you dating Jenna last year?" I think I was talking to her at the same time. Turns out, Liam had been part of a little side hustle Jenna was running, a guy she was emotionally supporting while figuring herself out. He'd found me through one of her old tag photos and decided to reach out when he noticed the same timelines matching up. We traded stories, compared receipts. It was like solving a mystery in reverse. He was shocked. I was not. He told me she'd been asking him for help with car payments too, that she said I was barely hanging on financially, and that she was afraid I might spiral if she left. I nearly choked laughing. Apparently, when the whole group chat thing happened, she spun it to him as Marcus misunderstood something I meant for a friend. Not plural, a friend. As if she'd sent a one-off sarcastic comment that somehow got lost in translation. Liam and I ended that call with a weird mutual appreciation. Like two survivors nodding across the battlefield, grateful to be alive. It wasn't long after that Jenna finally texted me one last time. A single message. "I guess you told them. Hope you're happy." I stared at it for a good 5 minutes. Then replied, "I didn't tell them. I showed them." And that was it. No follow-up. No more drama. Just the sound of story closing. I don't know what Jenna's doing these days. Maybe she's still performing heartbreak in 3-minute clips. Maybe she's found someone else who hasn't learned the signs yet. Or maybe, just maybe, she's looking in the mirror and realizing it's not the audience that's broken. But I'm not waiting for that ending. I got my own life now. My own peace. And when people ask me about the worst breakup I ever had, I just smile and say, "You ever get added to a group chat by mistake?" It's the most honest thing you'll ever see. About 3 months after everything had gone quiet, I started dating again. Nothing serious at first. Just a few coffees, a couple awkward dinners, the occasional "we should do this again" followed by mutual ghosting. It was weird being back out there after the Jenna saga. You don't realize how much your standards change until someone doesn't treat you like an ATM with a pulse. I found myself overcorrecting a bit, vetting people for even a whiff of girl boss with a GoFundMe. But eventually, I settled into a good rhythm, met a few normal people, even laughed on a first date without wondering if someone was mentally calculating how much I earned per month. And somewhere in that process, I stopped thinking about Jenna altogether, which of course is exactly when she popped up again. It was a Tuesday. I remember because it was raining and I was in a really good mood for no reason at all. I just got a promotion at work. Nothing huge, just more responsibility and a slight bump in pay. Enough to feel proud of myself. I grabbed dinner to celebrate solo, ramen, extra egg, and walked home listening to old jazz through my headphones. My phone buzzed right as I hit the elevator. A number I didn't recognize. But the message? Hey, I know I don't deserve a reply, but I'm really stuck. Can we talk? Just 5 minutes. Please. I stood there in the hallway while the elevator doors opened and closed behind me a few times. I didn't have to guess who it was, and I didn't want to respond. But curiosity's a funny beast. So I wrote back. What's going on? She didn't waste time. I got kicked out of my apartment. I had help with rent lined up, but it fell through. I'm staying with my cousin, but it's not sustainable. I just need enough to get me through the month. I'm not asking for anything long-term. I reread it 3 times, and not once did it sound like an apology. No, I'm sorry for what I did. No, I understand if you say no. No acknowledgement of the firestorm she dragged me through. Just this weird, transactional tone, like she was texting a distant uncle with a soft spot. I put my phone down and made tea. Sat by the window while the rain painted streaks down the glass. And I thought about how different my life looked now. I wasn't bitter anymore. I wasn't angry. I didn't want revenge. I had peace. And I wasn't about to give that up for someone who had shown me, repeatedly, how little she respected it. So I responded with exactly what I felt. Jenna, I truly hope things get better for you. But helping you out would mean walking backward into a version of myself I've worked really hard to grow past. I can't do that, she replied. Wow, Cole. I didn't answer. Because here's the truth no one really talks about. Closure doesn't always come wrapped in apologies or dramatic reveals. Sometimes it's just silence. Sometimes it's choosing not to re-enter a conversation you've already survived. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and went to bed with a clean conscience. About a week later, Sabrina texted me again. Same casual energy as before. You really said that and meant it, huh? I told her I had no idea what she meant. Apparently, Jenna had posted a tear-streaked Instagram story about being abandoned by people she thought cared, and how she made one mistake and got crucified for it. She didn't name names, but everyone in her circle knew. Sabrina said a few folks finally saw through the act. The pity party had lost its sparkle. Even the podcast followers stopped commenting heart emojis and started dropping, "Hey, take accountability" messages instead. Sometimes the internet actually does have a functioning BS detector. Not always, but sometimes. Sabrina ended her message with, "Glad you dipped out early. She's a full-time meltdown now." I thanked her, and then I blocked Jenna's number. Not out of pettiness, not out of vengeance, just peace. Fast forward to today, almost a year later. I'm 35 now, still in the same apartment, still working the same job, with 2 raises since. I met someone a few months ago. Her name's Olivia. She reads books I've never heard of and cooks like a wizard. She never once made me feel like my usefulness was tied to my bank account. She insists on splitting the bill, even when I try to treat. And when I told her the whole Jenna saga over dinner one night, she didn't pity me. She just said, "Damn, you dodged a 5-year payment plan disguised as a relationship." We laughed, and then we moved on. Every now and then, the story still comes up with friends, usually when someone asks about the wildest breakup you've ever had. I'll tell it, they'll react the same way everyone does. Eyes wide, mouth open, slow head shake. And then someone always asks, "Do you think she ever changed?" I shrug. Maybe, maybe not. It's not really my concern anymore. Because here's what I know now that I didn't know then. People don't just happen to use you. It's not a glitch. It's a feature. And if you ignore those red flags, if you laugh off the small manipulations and excuse the first few selfish choices, you'll blink and find yourself explaining to a stranger why you paid someone's car loan while they debated your value over brunch with their friends. I'm not bitter. I'm just aware now. Aware of what I bring. Aware of what I need. Aware that love without respect is just manipulation wearing perfume. So yeah, Jenna group texted her friends and accidentally included me while weighing whether I was boring, but financially convenient. She laughed. I left. Her rent was due in 2 days. And that, friends, was the best mistake she ever made for me. Wouldn't change a thing.